I want to read you the quote from Robin Wright in The New Yorker, who spoke about it. She said, "At one of the darkest times in the elusive effort to end the conflict in the Middle East comes a remarkable new memoir, full of youthful exuberance, unlikely adventures, and raw discovery. Captivating." So I just want to introduce you to Yousef Bashir. Yousef Bashir is a Palestinian-American from the Gaza Strip, the son of Khalil Bashir, a highly respected educator. Still suffering the effects of a near-catastrophic injury at the hands of an anonymous Israeli Defense Force soldier, Yousef made his way to the United States, where he earned a BA in International Affairs from Northeastern University and an MA in Coexistence and Conflict from Brandeis University. He now lives in Washington, D.C., and he's worked on Capitol Hill and did serve as a member of the Palestinian diplomatic delegation to the United States until recently. He's an accomplished author, a vigorous advocate of Israeli-Palestinian peace, and a much sought-after public speaker. And we're here tonight to hear from him this amazing story of peace, perseverance, and hope. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Yousef Bashir.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone. Thank you very much. I have had many dreams of one day becoming an author. I just never expected it to be like that, a room full and packed of young people eager to listen to my story. So thank you for being here. My story begins in 2000 in Gaza Strip. And before that, let me tell you my name. My name is Yousef Khalil Salman Ahmed Mustafa Khalil Salman Bashir. And I say that because I am a native of Gaza. My family existed on the land that we own today for the past 300 years. As a kid, I didn't appreciate that very much because I did not know what that meant very much. But my father was always proud that we are from the Holy Land and we are going to do everything we can to represent it and do everything we can to always give peace in the Holy Land a chance, because that's what the least we could offer and bring to the Holy Land. And anyone who's truly from there will move mountains if they can to bring peace to that land. I was 11 when the second Intifada started. My house happened to be located next to an Israeli settlement called Kfar Darom, one of the 5 or 8 settlements that existed in the Strip until 2005. And everything was going normal until I turned 11, and September came, second Intifada started. Apparently, peace talks failed in Camp David, and so the soldiers, for no reason, they started shooting at the house. And I remember the first time they started doing that, we just had dinner, turned off the lights, and I kid you not, bullets started going through the windows. And I remember my mom asking everyone to drop to the floor and start crawling to the living room. It's the room in the middle, and it was the safest for us. And it was the first time I was scared. I knew there were soldiers there, I knew there was Israel and Palestine, but the conflict never took place before me until that very moment. And from that point on, my life would change. My father came home and said, "Don't worry, don't be scared, don't be afraid." And after a week, the soldiers realized that the family is still in the house. So they came over and said to my dad, "You should take your kids and go away. It's not going to be safe for them." And he simply said back to them, "I've been peaceful my entire life, and if it's not going to be safe to my kids in their home, it cannot be safe for them anywhere else." And so, sure enough, they left, and they came back with even more men and more weapons and more equipments. As we were eating lunch, they took over the second floor and third floor. Before that, I thought of Gaza as the most beautiful place on earth. I never ran out of place to run. I grew up on a beautiful ranch, We grew vegetables, and it was just a beautiful place. I go up, it's a big house. I go upstairs and I look at the sea. If I get bored, I climb on an olive tree and I plan my future when it's my turn to be sent away to Europe to study. And I was always full of dreams, just like every other child or person in the world. My grandmother would tell stories about the British Mandate, the Israeli War in 48, 67, 73, and on and on and on. But she was always committed that no matter what happens in this land, I'm just going to stay there. And I was always confused by that because, my God, I can't wait to leave this. Especially when they took over. Because when they took over, every night, they would come downstairs and order the family to move to sleep in the living room. And suddenly that big house would turn into one single room. Even the bathroom and the kitchen, I had to wait for the soldier to get an okay from upstairs before I was able to be accompanied with a soldier to use the bathroom. If you're a male, you cannot shut the door. And if you're a female, the soldier will come, you can shut the door, but you can't lock it. The kitchen, same thing. And throughout the entire experience, my father never, not once, said, these people are just not good. One day when you grow up, do this and that. And every time they did something disrespectful, rude, scary, terrifying, I was waiting for him to do that. Because I thought that was the normal thing. But no, he insisted that we are cousins. And we are the children of Abraham. And whether they realize it or not, we are bound to live together. No matter what we have done to each other, and we have done quite a lot to one another, we are related. And we cannot escape that. Of course, to me, that means nothing. Just simply because the words of my father were always and constantly challenged by the actions of the soldiers, not on TV, not on the street, right in my living room. In 2002, they demolished his greenhouses. They always came of new things to do around the house to make it difficult for him to stay there. But he insisted that I am not going to leave my house. And he kept telling them that no matter what you do, I am not going to leave my house. But you know what? I'm also not going to hate you. Because to him, that was the ultimate defeat. When the actions of the others define my actions. And we Palestinians, I believe, we were born to be peaceful. I was born to be peaceful. In 2002, they demolished the greenhouses right before his eyes. And a little while after, CNN crew came to do a story in the house. Now, since 2000, anyone who can enter my house, now it's only press. And to do that, you get a permit from the soldiers. So they got their permit, everything's going great, until the camerawoman said, I'm going upstairs, I'd like to take some footage from there. My dad said, well, there's soldiers up there, and they told me no one is allowed there. And she said, that's fine, I'm an American. And she was wrong. Because they came, they demanded the tapes, this was captured on tape, and they were very upset with them and with my father. And they told him, from now on, your house is divided to area A, B, C. And even the area that belongs to you, you have to speak to me before you do anything, if you want to stay alive. And my father calmly says, okay. That evening, a crossfire was happening. We thought it was a crossfire, but they were shooting straight at his bedroom. And for the very first time at age 12, I was contemplating life and the idea that I could lose someone in my family. I've never attended a funeral before or been introduced to that concept. But he survived. They shot at his bedroom and they injured him with fragments all over the back of his head. The next day, Ben Wiedemann goes to the hospital and asks him, do you still believe in peace? They just almost killed you for no reason. And with a smile on his face, he said, what happened to me last night makes me believe even more in peace. I don't want my children to grow up to see what we're dealing with today. And I asked him, he was also my headmaster. So it was a chaos for me at home and at school, because as we went on, the relationship got even more intense in a lot of good ways. And I said, how is that possible? And he said, one day you will understand. And sure enough, that day, to make the long story short for you, that day came when 3 United Nations officers were asking for a permit to enter the house, and they got one for 15 minutes. I just turned 15 on that day, February 18 of 2004. And I entered the house, had a little argument with my mom, leftovers, life is so unfair, I hate it, I'm going downtown before the curfew, I'm gonna eat what I want, and then I'm coming back. So instead, on my way out, I saw the United Nations, my dad, my dad was trying to teach me English, and I thought, well, this is an easy way for me to impress him, so I'll just sit for a couple of minutes. After a couple of minutes, the same soldier who just gave them a permit to enter the house asked them to leave, for no reason. Nothing was going on, or shooting, or anything. Beautiful day, middle of the day. And so we did. We all got up and we walked back to the car. My father is in front of me. The United Nations car is backing away from the house in the driveway. And as I wave my hand like this, goodbye to the UN, the soldier, for no reason, shoots me in my back. And from that moment on, from that point on, my life would take a different turn. Because for the very first time, I thought, oh my God, I think they just got to him. Because I saw concern and fear like never before. I watched this man get shot at, and nothing would get to him. But he thought that he was losing me. I thought it was time for me to go too. And I started telling him, sorry about this, sorry about that, sorry about this, sorry about that. And all of a sudden, he was insistent that you're not going to die today, don't worry. When I made it to the local hospital, I felt pain, some of which I feel today. So I knew that since I feel, I'm not going to die. Now, my whole life, especially since 2000 until 2004, I'm introduced to the idea of the Jewish people. My father was always the best representation of the Jewish people. It wasn't the soldiers, it wasn't the settlers. But he was always trying, because he was afraid that once we are angry, we lose not only our land and our hopes for a better future, but also we lose on ourselves as human beings who will contribute good things back to the society and this universe. A week later, I wake up in an unlikely place at that point for me, and that was Tel Aviv, Tel Aviv Hospital, in the middle of Israel. And as I opened my eyes, I spotted him in the corner of the room, and I just looked, meaning, is this really happening? And he shook his head, indicating that they are going to save my life. And they did. The first time, one of them, the doctors, he asked me, can you point which smiley face describes the level of your pain? And my entire life, I'm used to them with M16s. And I never, and will never forget that moment, because that moment was very significant for me. After that, I spent 3 months in surgery. He shot me with an M16 bullet. The bullet split into 3 fragments, and by a miracle, it didn't break my spine. But I lost nerves and I was paralyzed. So they said, the nerves can grow back. All we need to do is teach you how to walk. And so they put me in rehab for about 9 additional months. And from that point on, I woke up every day to attend classes and go and practice and practice and practice and practice. until I was able to let go of the wheelchair and stand up and walk again and drive everywhere in crazy just like I did a year before. And right then and there, I instantly fell in love with his ideas and his view of the world, not only the Israelis, but everyone else. Because at that point, I was sure that no one is paying much attention to the Palestinians and to my father. He received about 500,000 letters from people from around the world saying him, some will be, I'm Jewish, stay in the house. Someone from India, I read your story, all power to you. England, US, and so many more media outlets came to interview him. So I was captured by his commitment because he didn't have to go far to show us, his children, the importance and the meaning of peace. Peace isn't just so I can live better, but also so I can see a better light in my life and see the true potential that I was meant to fulfill. Because many kids in my part of the world, they get shot and they get scared and intimidated for no reason. Sometimes there isn't anyone to watch it or see it or put it on file to report it later on or on things like that. But I got lucky. And he told me, you need to use this as an opportunity. You have two paths. You either get upset and seek revenge because he shot you for no reason, or you can turn it into something. And I chose the latter thanks to him and to my mom. He told me about a group called Seeds of Peace, and I joined that group. It was my first time to land in the United States, and there I met Israelis again, but this time I was there to speak of my story, but also I learned there that everyone had a story. The Israelis had a story, the Palestinians had a story. And there I was given this opportunity to share my story, and I realized that I can tell the story not to blame the Israelis for what they have done to me, but to give a reason to them and to my people to why we should give this another try and another try and another try, because believe it or not, we have no other choice. They have tried everything, and to this day we have no peace, my side and their side. They may be having companies in a successful country, but they are not at peace. Neither are we. So I left camp and I went back to Gaza, and suddenly Israel decided no more Gaza. In August of 2005. The entire base moved over to my house because there was no base anymore. They locked us in for about 2 weeks, and they left team by team by team until the last group of soldiers evacuated the house. And we thought it was a joke, it's not the first time governments there come up with a proposal, and then a couple of days later we learned that it's just talk. But this wasn't. He ran upstairs, and for the very first time in 5 years, he went upstairs and said, I told you we were going to get the house back. And from that day, I was convinced, and to this day, and I will always be, that it's not just romanticism and naivety and weak talk. It worked. He did not take sides. He was not angry. He did not leave his house. He paid dearly, but he won in the end. Most of all, he didn't lose his humanity and his children. My brothers are doctors in Germany. I'm the middle child. We're 8 kids. My sister is a surgeon. My oldest brother is a surgeon. My second oldest is an engineer. And I just fell in love with the United States, so I wanted to come back here. So I ended up coming to the US in 2006. I worked really hard to convince him because I was convinced that I needed to be independent. I'm going to find my own way in life. I'm not going to Europe. I'm going back to the US. Just because of that Seeds of Peace experience that I just witnessed a year earlier. And when I arrived, he dropped me off at the border with Egypt. A war was taking place with Lebanon and Gaza, and that would be my last time to see him. Because in 2009, I get a phone call. Your dad passed away. And so from that point and from that moment, I decided to write a book. I've always wanted to write. When I was a kid, I was always writing something here and there, a poem or a love letter or whatever. And when I knew that that was it, I said, I'm going to use my skills and everything I have at my disposal to share his voice with the world, because he deserves a second chance and many, many chances, because he was a beautiful and a pure man who was not only committed to peace, to Palestine, but also to everyone else who shared the world with him. And I'm proud. I'm proud to say that I'm not peaceful because I got to live 9 amazing years in the United States. I'm proud because I learned how to be peaceful in Gaza. And that's what brings me here to you today. Thank you very much.